I think that an absolute golden rule in this way of growing and healing and taking our path forwards is that if things feel hard, it means we need more support.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Rosy Daniel.
And hello, I'm Karen Mellers, and together we are alive and we're loving it.
Wonderful. So we're here to help you find more life in your life. How great is that? We want to help you have the courage and the support to pursue what it is you love the most in your life and to become true to yourself. So this means coming fully alive as you nurture yourself in body, mind and spirit.
Through our guests, we've got such inspiring personal stories with so many profound insights. There's in-depth knowledge, there's scientific evidence, because we want to reveal how excitement, happiness and living with purpose, they're not just good for your soul, they're essential for your health and your well-being. You know, when you're really, truly alive, you are at your healthiest.
And that is the truth. So we also invite you to join our loving community, because when you connect with a community of like-minded people where you feel you belong, this is the best way of all to protect your precious health.
So grab a cuppa, tune in and start living life to the full. We're ready. Welcome to our very first episode of Alive and Loving It. I'm so excited. Rosy, we are finally here. After all the planning, all the tech decisions, we are here at last. How's it feel?
Absolutely fantastic. I feel this is what we're born to do. You know, I know myself as a messenger and you as a weaver and a connector, and just working together, Karen, is a dream come true.
Yeah. Well, if I forget to tell you, I had a really good time, Rosy, doing this. So, everybody who has joined us, thank you so much. I just want to tell you that each week, our topic is a health creation principle in one of the 4 quadrants of holistic health: body, mind, spirit, and environment. To be truly healthy, you need to connect with yourself and your experience of life through these 4 lenses. And each season of our podcast, we are going to take one principle from each quadrant and do a deep dive into our personal experiences, expert opinions, and the most inspiring true life stories. Get the tissues ready. 3 episodes dedicated to each principle, so we really are going deep. We're going to help you check in with yourself through those 4 lenses and ask yourself some very important questions. What is my current state? What are my needs? And what resources do I need to support me right now? Now, to do this, you need to slow down for a while so you can really listen to yourself. That's difficult in our very fast-paced lives. But we hope our 30-minute shows will help you create that space for you to do just that. Slow down and connect. So on our very first episode, we have chosen a health creation principle called being true to yourself. And this affects so many aspects of our health, but mainly it is a factor of our human spirit. More about that in episode 2 with our expert, Dr. Rosy Daniel. So, Rosy, why is being true to yourself so important, and why have we chosen it to lead our entire podcast?
What a great question, Karen. So really being true to ourselves is the absolute baseline for health and well-being. It's about our authenticity. It's about expressing our true nature. It's about living to our full potential. And at the heart of it, it's about the state of our spirit. Is our spirit a light? Are we illuminated? Are we shining brightly? Or are we eclipsed? Is anything holding us back? Are there forces which are restraining us in all kinds of different ways, because that puts us into a state of spiritual malaise, even worse, being broken spirited, dispirited. We all know how that feels. So really at the heart of health creation and this whole movement is becoming true to our own spirit.
Yes. I think it's easier for me to know when I'm not true to myself if I check in with my energy levels, but it's harder for me to know when I am being true to myself, because for most of my life, I've felt that I've been true to myself. But since, coming into this work with you, I've realized that in some cases I've been masking. So how do you know when you are not being true to yourself, Rosie? What can people look out for?
Well, I think the first signs are when we recognize that we're people pleasing, that we are being the way we think somebody else wants us to be. So often we can find that we're dominated, and it doesn't mean it's harsh or horrible, but I can remember myself as a young woman. I had a best friend, and I didn't buy a garment without thinking, would she like it? I didn't buy food without thinking, would she like it? Et cetera, et cetera. And so I think many of us grow up almost, I was going to say, as a shadow of ourselves, where we are so out of touch with who we are that we are fulfilling the way we think somebody else wants us to be. And of course, that goes on and on in society, because we start off obviously with the way our parents want us to be and our school wants us to be. And maybe there's a religion that wants us to be a particular way, society, and there are layers and layers of these personas, and you've just called it a mask. These sorts of layers of reality that come over us, but quite often there can be our true nature or our creativity that might in some way be being squashed. So in health creation, we aim to help people tune into which aspects of their nature are underexpressed, because that's where the life is.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the health is. And sometimes I hear myself saying that disease starts in the unlived life.
Oh.
I don't know if that lands for you.
Yes, please, just say that again, Rosie.
So illness can start in the unlived life.
Wow. And I'm just really connecting with, you were saying, that true self, that essence. If that's where your energy is, when you can freely express yourself, that you tap into this pool, this resource inside you, that's like lifting the lid, and all of that energy and joy and just can be released. I know. I was just thinking how to describe that, like that buzzy feeling that you can get sometimes, that I'm getting more and more as I'm getting older, actually.
Well, you're making it sound like taking the top off a bottle of champagne, really.
Yes.
Uncorking the essence of Karen.
Oh gosh.
But, the amazing spiritual teacher, Caroline Mace, or Carolyn Mace, she said to me once, when you are seeing your clients, your patients, ask them, into whose hands have you commended your spirit? Because she said our ability to be well is directly proportional to how much of our spiritual energy we have for ourselves. Yeah. Now, that's putting it in a spiritual frame, but it's an interesting, I get the image of, little amoebas that have those sort of tentacles that go out. And if we are so spread out and busily trying to be who, all these different people want us to be, our essence gets diluted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this process of becoming true to ourselves, bit by bit, we're sort of pulling back our tentacles of energy, our spiritual energy, and re-essentializing, coming home to ourselves.
I've caught myself doing it, as I've become more aware of this principle. and trying to keep more of that energy for myself, I've become really aware of the thoughts I have. Like, I wonder how they are, and how's he today, and what are they going through? I'm like, and all of a sudden I'm like, no, stop. That's me giving my energy away to others, which obviously it's good to do. And I've been brought up in that way, that it's, and society will tell us that it's a woman thing to care about others, but really trying to only do that from a full cup rather than doing it all the time and emptying my reserve.
And that's a whole nother principle that we're going to focus on, to do with our vitality and how we build and how we lose our precious life energy.
Yeah.
Which is so completely essential, again, for health and well-being. You will hear me saying that about every principle that we cover. But you said, why have I chosen this as the first one that we address? Because in the work I do, which has mainly been with people with cancer, it's when they come home to themselves and when they start being true to themselves, when we give them permission to start living true to themselves, that the life energy leaps up. And often with that comes renewed health, renewed immunity, and physical healing, as well as spiritual healing. But there's another very profound part of this, because when I work with people who are life threatened and even moving towards their dying, if they live fully as themselves, even for a brief period of time, dying is a lot easier, because people have grown to their full height or had that sense of themselves.
Well, I think for me, the reason why we chose it for the very first episode is because that's where the name came from for the podcast as well. Alive and loving it. Let's turn all our focus into this way of being where you are tapped into that life source energy that's within you. And it is the champagne cork popping for you. So we have that intention for everybody who's listening through our podcast. That's what we're holding dear.
Yeah, and it can take a bit of time. There may be those of you listening who are thinking, well, crikey, I am that person. I have been making all the decisions according to what my partner wants or my kids want or my work wants. But, who am I? Where do I sit in all of this? Because so many of us do that. We become what I call a watery chameleon. Watery because we're flowing around other people all the time, and chameleon because we're changing our shape. We're shape shifting to be how we think people want us to be. So, and many of you may be beautiful watery chameleons.
Well, I was definitely.
I definitely was. And, it is a very kind and loving way to be, to fit and harmonize. But the problem is if we're doing it at our own expense. And I think it can start with quite small things. What food do I like? What colors do I like? What films do I like? If always what's going on in the house is what my partner or my kids want, what are the things I like? Where are my sacred places? Where are the places that really, really fill my heart and just lift my spirit?
The first time that I started asking myself those questions, and maybe some people might relate to this, I got the answer back, I don't know. And so it was a step before that for me, which was putting in a daily practice, and very simple daily practice of checking in with myself. And it's like a muscle that you haven't used for a long time. At the beginning, it doesn't work very well, but that's why it's called a practice. The more you practice it, then all of a sudden something came in one morning. Oh, I like this film, or I like dancing, or, and actually some I don't likes came in. Before the likes, it was more like, well, I don't like that. So, those daily practices have been really, really key for me, Rosy. But can you tell us what happens when you're not being true to yourself?
Well, I think we feel dispirited. I think we can feel low energy, we can feel depressed, or we can just have a background, what I call spiritual malaise. So that feeling that things are off, I'm not quite in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. And yeah, I mean, I had an astounding client in my younger days, a lady who came who had a very serious lung cancer. She'd been through the introductory day at the Bristol Cancer Help Centre, now Penny Bron, and she went home at the end of the day. We hugged and said goodbye. The next morning, she came skidding up the drive, slammed on her brakes, jumped out of her car, and said, "I need to talk to you." Yesterday, I was just paying lip service, but I've been away all night, and I have realised I'm in the wrong house with the wrong man in the wrong job in the wrong town.
Blimey.
And I said, "Whoa, Neddy, do you think we should get going with some healthy food and vitamins?" And she said, "I haven't got time for that. Take me to your consulting room. Let's get cracking."
Wow.
That was a dramatic example. But, the incredible ending to that story is that she healed. Her lungs healed. And she came back some 5 years later as a supporter to somebody else looking to heal themselves with cancer. So, this is why, for me, this mind, body, spirit connection is so much at the heart of this fantastic way of working.
Yeah, that is so, so powerful. I mean, I don't think my revelation was as big as that when I started the work. It has taken time with me, but it did end up in me selling my home of 21 years in November 23. And luckily, my husband was on the same page. I didn't sell it out from underneath him, but we both had that moment of this, where we're living, what we're doing, it's not right for who we are now. So I guess being true to yourself is a constant thing as we change.
Well, definitely. And I think it can be a beautiful, gentle, exquisite thing, because if you think of it, that you're creating a new relationship with yourself. So it's as if you are meeting yourself for the first time, like as if you were getting to know somebody else.
Yeah.
What do you like? What is your musical taste? What clothes do you like? So you can treat it as a beautiful, gentle getting to know yourself.
And it can be quite a scary process as well. So, I really believe and trust in our bodies that it will go at a pace that is right for us, that is right for our nervous system to handle. And remembering we need resources along the way. And usually it's an experience in life that actually is better taken with somebody else. Would you say that?
Well, yes, and that's why I've created a mentor service. So I train people to become health creation coaches and mentors to work with another over initially a 6 months period, just for an hour a month. And I know you're going through this at the moment,
I am.
to deepen into this process of seeing, where do I need focus and how do I gently take this journey of becoming true to myself. And I've heard myself describe it with people who are really ill and perhaps feeling that the way they've been has contributed to them getting ill, as having the opportunity to reincarnate in this lifetime as ourselves, as the real us. So it can go deep.
I think you can, well, I believe it's the most attractive thing is authenticity. And I believe you can see that and feel that in a person. And that has a ripple effect on others as well. I am going to see Robbie Williams very soon. And he's always been a person, like whatever he's gone through, he's been completely authentic and it is attractive. I think maybe that's because if we haven't got it ourselves and we see it in other people, it's a desire to be our own unique expression. And the biggest inspiration for me at the moment are my kids. They are brave enough, they're courageous enough to just come out into the world and say, this is me. This is me. This is who I am. But obviously that can create some waves or have a reaction in families, maybe in friendship groups, in society. I mean, let's talk about what kinds of other things make us untrue to ourselves. I think that's really important.
Yeah, well, what I was just thinking while you were saying that is that there is a period when we go through change where we are a bit naked and vulnerable. Lawrence Lashan calls it lobstering because it sounds odd, but apparently when a lobster grows, it completely sheds the old shell, is naked then, and then once it's grown, it gets a new shell. So, when we do make that transition, we want to just look after ourselves and be gentle with ourselves. And in terms of making waves, it is a fact that when we grow and when we change, it is going to create some kind of breeze around us. And that might, you said that your husband decided to change with you. It isn't always like that. Some people start on a growth journey and grow apart from people who've been holding them stuck in a particular holding pattern, which has served for a whole chunk of life, but is not serving anymore. I'm not sure if that was exactly your question, but those are useful things to think about.
Oh, very, very important. And, I love the lobstering. I love that analogy, that coming out of that hard shell, because these masks can be very rigid and holding us really firm. And I heard something this morning, somebody was describing that when we aren't true to ourselves and we're in this sort of holding state, that's what our muscles do. They go firm and they go rigid and we constrict. So that's another way, when you're doing the checking in with yourself, that's another way that you can get a little, am I tense or am I open and am I relaxed? Which one is it? And I'm really conscious of resistance at the moment, Rosie, and what resistance is telling us. Because I think it is so much easier to stay in our current state, in our comfort zone, because we know it and we think it's not scary, but it might not actually be serving us. Whereas when we grow, when we come to that edge, there can initially be a resistance, and that's somewhere in our body. Our coping mechanism is telling us, "Ooh, that's new. That might be scary. Don't go over there." And so you hit a resistance. But now I'm thinking, wow, resistance is the way, My beautiful teacher, Joey, says what's in the way is the way. And absolutely believe it. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that an absolute golden rule in this way of growing and healing and taking our path forwards is that if things feel hard, it means we need more support.
Yes.
So it's usually the lack of love or harshness or not being seen or recognized or acknowledged that's caused us to brace and, not feel confident to be our authentic self. And that needs melting, and it needs melting with love and kindness. And so, we're not ripping off shells or, getting gung-ho about this. I think you'll always hear me say, get the support in place, get the love in place, whether that's through something like your and Joey's beautiful circles, whether it's through having a mentor, whether it's through having a healer. Maybe it's a good moment to explain about your circles, Karen.
Well, I think there's nothing more powerful than when your nervous system is in a heightened state. So when it's in fight or flight, to just be in a space, and that can be physically or that can be online, because the technology, can help this as well. We can feel through the screens. But be in a space where somebody else's nervous system is in rest and digest, is in a calm space. You know, I always say that if I came on here today and I didn't say I was angry, but I looked a certain way, or you picked up on my tone of voice, you would be able to tell. That's your nervous system picking up on my nervous system. Well, that's the same if somebody is calm. So when you come into a circle space, when you come into a retreat, when you come into many of the groups that are out there to support people, and it's been held by others whose nervous system is in rest and digest, some alchemy happens. You don't even have to say anything. Just being in the presence of loving witnessing, your nervous system starts to calm and you start to be able to come safe.
Absolutely. And I would call that coherence or entrainment. You know, that this phenomenon of flocks of birds flying together or shoals of fish, even apparently in Swiss clock shops, they all start to tick together. You know, that this is a phenomenon of life, that we do become coherent. And clearly what we want to do is become coherent with others who are in that calm place. And so this is why to start our groups with breathing, with relaxation, meditation, taking ourselves into the heart is so important, because we start to set that beautiful, coherent tone.
And love is all powerful, isn't it, Rosie? I mean, it's the first time I met you, you were just like a big glowing heart of love. And I'm so attracted to it. And I feel that as well. My mum had the biggest heart, and people used to line up and listen to her in the laundrette where she worked, not to have their clothes cleaned, but just to feel her capacity for love. I mean, it's all transforming, isn't it?
It is. And it's catching, you know. I mean, where did I get the confidence to be this kind of way and this kind of doctor? Through my teachers, Pat Pilkington, Christopher Pilkington, the healers at the Amazing Centre, who were pouring love into the place and pouring love into people through healing beyond words, you know, either the Reiki or the spiritual healing, for when it's all too much to try and put it into words. So I was very, very lucky to have this encouraged in me. And I think we can do this for our community.
Absolutely. So what we're saying with this in this episode is, are you being true to yourself? That's the first question. And you might not know, but take some time to slow down and explore that. And next week, we're going to go deeper into the subject of how you came about to be so focused on the mind-body connection. It's become your passion. It's become your life work. So next week, you are the expert.
Thanks.
I have heard a lot of the stories before, and I am so privileged to ask you the questions next week, Rosie, and help you share that story with many others. So that's it, the end of our first episode. Wow. Feels so wonderful. My champagne cork is popping. I'm aligned. I'm in flow. I'm being true to myself.
Just wonderful. Thank you so much, Karen.
Take care.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Alive and Loving It. We really hope that today's conversation has sparked your passion and shown you ways to open up into the vibrant life that's possible for you.
Absolutely, Rosie. I mean, we have to remember transformation begins with love, and that's self-love, love for others, and love for our beautiful planet. When you embrace love and you just allow yourself to receive as much as you give, you unlock the fullest potential of your life.
That is the truth, and we're here to support you every step of the way on your journey. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, please join our community, check out our trainings and our services and the events where we can all go deeper together. And do please send us your feedback. We want to hear your ideas for the podcast, who you'd like to see us interview, questions you want to ask and get answered through the contact page on our website, aliveandlovingit.org.
I can't wait to read them. And when you're there, be sure to sign up for our newsletter and updates. And what about following us on Instagram as well? We are at Alive and Loving It Community. Once you've signed up to the newsletter, you'll receive extra notes from today's show and more inspiration to help you live your most vibrant life.
Thank you for being with us. Keep shining, stay true to yourself, and remember, this is your time to live your fullest, healthiest life.
So until next time, keep doing what you love most in life. I know Rosie and I will be, always. We're so excited to connect with you on the next episode of Alive and Loving It. And we welcome you with open hearts to our Alive and Loving It community.